Bukava, and welcome to AutoNet. So today I want to talk about Dojo 2. So the beta for Dojo 2 and the big announcement was done just recently, I think the past couple of weeks. It was announced. Dojo 2 has been a long time in the making. If you've been paying attention at all, I mean, it talked about a couple years ago, the work they were doing, and it's taken a little while to get here, but we're finally starting to really see all the bits and pieces for Dojo 2 come together. So they even have a spiffy new website here, dojo.io. So it's got a really cool new logo here, this little dragon wrapped around the two here, which is really cool. Dojo is evolving, right? It's got a lot of really cool information, and I'll look over the tutorials and the API stuff in a second here. But if you want to keep up with the work being done on Dojo 2, you actually go to GitHub. They have a Dojo Meta repo on GitHub that talks about the status of a lot of these packages. So if you want to contribute, they've got some guidelines in here, the style guide, and they also have a list of the packages that are part of Dojo 2. So you can see they've really broken out Dojo 2 into multiple packages that can be installed separately depending on what you want to do. So for example, there is a Dojo CLI, which we'll take a look at in a moment, that's used to create your Dojo 2 applications, the scaffold, everything together. There's this compose library, which is kind of neat, that they've worked on, that you compose your application, parts of your application together. So you can compose a object that inherits traits from another object to create brand new objects, kind of this whole mix-in thing they got going, which is really cool. And then there's core. So core is basically what is Dojo 2. Everything kind of wraps around core in this case. You also notice that they've broken the loader out here to Dojo Loader. So there's still an AMD loader that is part of Dojo 2, but it's actually inside of its own package. And that opens up the possibilities to actually use Dojo without the Dojo AMD loader. But then again, that brings up some other questions of how do you do things like the IE10N package here without a loader plugin that determines at runtime what files are needed for a particular locale. They've got some solutions to that. If you look at some of these libraries here, some promise-based solutions, which are really kind of cool. So it's the kind of thing I'm really interested in. So Dojo stores, this is pretty much dstore. If you've ever used dstore for Dojo 1 development, and dgrid as well. So dgrid is a really great grid library that uses dstores, or Dojo stores I should say, to build up its memory and stuff like that. So there's really cool stuff here. And then they got really neat stuff here in widgets and widgets core. So there's this whole new way that you can write widgets using Dojo 2, and that's built on top of Maquette.js, which is a small virtual DOM library. And if you didn't notice here, TypeScript. Lots of TypeScript. The entire Dojo 2 development was done in TypeScript. They've done an awful lot of work here, and they've done some really neat stuff with TypeScript in the development for Dojo 2. I mean, I look at the code a lot, just kind of see kind of different things that they do. It's pretty great stuff. It's really neat. And they've also got these other libraries in here too, which I won't talk too much about here, but there's plenty of other packages you can look at. You can always look at the roadmaps. They've got the roadmap laid out as to what beta milestones are going to happen. So they've got beta 3, beta 2. We're up in, I think, this area here. All right, so they've got stuff coming out here. All these different milestones. So here we are. We're at milestone beta 1. All right, and then there's some other milestones coming up down the road. So you can kind of check out this parts of the wiki as well, Dojo Meta. They've got a blog on the Dojo.io site, so they do have a blog section. And again, this is just announcing Dojo 2 is coming. It's got some cool information in here talking about what makes Dojo 2 Dojo 2. That's all really cool. Updated API documentation. So if we look at core, again, these are all the different packages you have available to you. If you look at core here, they've got new documentation built out, so you can see how to use core. So you can install Dojo Core, Dojo Has, Dojo Shim. Notice the npm namespacing that they're using, which avoids any conflicts. So this whole API page has been rebuilt, and they've actually got some tutorials up right now. So they've got some tutorials how to do stuff. I highly recommend check these out. It's just a handful now, but I imagine there's going to be quite a few more that will be coming down the road. So let's jump in and let's try some of this Dojo 2 stuff, right? So I'm going to go here. Oops, wrong button. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to try and use the Dojo CLI. Actually, before I get there, let's talk about the Dojo CLI, right? So let's go to Dojo Meta. Click on this here. So again, I mentioned before they have their own Dojo CLI that you can install and you can use. I don't think any updates been done since I last installed this, just like a week ago. So I think I'll be okay. I'm not gonna re-update my app, but basically you just install it globally with npm, and once you've done that, you have a few commands that are available to you. So first command I'm gonna do is going to be Dojo Create. You can see here I already tried their tutorial app, but you want to do -- name to give it the name of your application, and I'm going to just call this Dojo 2 test, and when you run that, it's going to go ahead, after I already have a Dojo 2 test, so let me Dojo 2, let's call it testing. There we go, can't beat me. Alright, so now it's going to go ahead and it's going to install all the bits and pieces it needs. It's got a template application that it'll install for you, along with all the tests and everything. So yes, it uses an intern for all its testing, which is really cool. And now it's just going to install the libraries. Once it's done that, we'll come right back and start checking it out. Alright, so the Dojo 2 scaffolding is all done. Let's go ahead and go inside our testing folder. I'll open this up in Visual Studio Code so I don't have to bother anyone with using Vim, try and navigate through files and stuff, because I really kind of want you to see the different files that are available. Alright, so let's check out and see what we got here. So we've got our package.json. Let me go ahead and update this. Is that going to do everything? Yeah, awesome. So we have our package.json in here. We've got our dependencies here, which are all the Dojo bits that we need. Our developer dependencies, which installs all the tooling that we need. And we got a nice little tsconfig in here. And for testing purposes, let's go ahead and let's open up the terminal here. Testing, and let's run Dojo, I forget what it was, build? Yeah, build watch. That's what it was, Dojo build watch. Alright, so now I have URL, localhost 999, let's copy that, let's go over here. Alright, there we go. We got a very simple application up and running. Make it a little bit bigger. And it's got this little text that just turns it upside down. Alright, little button there. That's kind of cool. Alright, so let's check some stuff out. I'm going to leave this as is here for now. And so we've got our tsconfig.json. If you notice here, we're building out as UMD, not AMD, which is just fine. I'm not going to go over the TypeScript bits and pieces. I've talked about some TypeScript stuff before, but if you're really interested, you can look that up. Let's just see what's happening here. So let's look at the index.html. That's pretty simple. Notice we have a nice little web component style bit in here. So I'd say I have something called my app. I'm going to assume main TS is where everything gets started. All right. Oh, I got a little error there. It does not exist on type handle. Check to see what's going on with that. But looks like I threw an error here. I bet you I need to update my Dojo 2, my Dojo CLI probably. But either way, you notice we've got some stuff in here. We got this projector mixin. We got the app that we're bringing in. Here's my app that we're showing on our page. And we're creating a projector from projector mixin. It's going to take our app, and then this projector is going to go ahead and get appended to the root of the page, which is going to be that my app, that little web component that we've added in there. And you didn't see me on video kind of do the quotation marks in the air with my fingers when I say web component. That's essentially what it is. And then we just console log that it's been attached, right? So that's pretty cool. That's kind of simple. And this whole projector mixin, projector mixin stuff. This is a way for you to be able to just take virtual DOM components that are being built and then project those virtual DOM components onto a real DOM. That's how I think of it. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I like to think of it that way. But projector actually comes from Maquette.js. That's what it uses to do the virtual DOM stuff. So let's take a look at app. So the app TS in here. All right, now we got some really cool stuff going in here. So we've got widget core. We're bringing in this W from widget core in there. So in there, yeah, D in here. Bringing in the node, widget properties, and widget base from some of the pieces. We have this hello world and hello world properties from our widget. We'll look at that in a second. Then we're just going to create a class. It's going to extend widget base, and it's going to have the types of widget properties. All right, so we bring that in there, and I think that's going to be for the render, essentially. Let's see what's in. Yeah, it's going to be for the type of the render. And then this render is going to give us back a node, and we need to just define what that node is going to be. So we're going to create that node using our W method here. This is how you create the virtual DOMs stuff, I think, to render it onto the page here. We're taking our component, our hello world component, we're passing it some methods in here. So we're going to pass it the stranger property and the toggle stranger method into the hello world component itself. All right, so that's pretty cool. This render stuff, I mean, you see render just about every virtual DOM library. It's in React, it's in Mithril, I believe, and a couple other ones. So that's pretty standard methods. Now let's take a look at the actual widget itself. So now we're looking at the widget here, and the widget's got some. Now we're bringing interfaces, bringing widget base, and what is this? We're bringing in the CSS as into our TypeScript code. Wow, what's going on there? And that's kind of cool. What they actually do is they run a tool on the CSS file, which is here, to create a CSS declaration file that you can then use when you write your TypeScript code that'll reference the CSS. That is kind of cool. They're using, oh my god, what is it called? Css Modules to bring that into the TypeScript, and then couple that with the typings that they do. They're able to have this theme decorator that will let you theme your component, and it'll keep the styles and the CSS names and everything compartmentalized to the actual widget itself. So you don't have any kind of overlapping or collisions happening with the style names or anything like that. It's pretty kind of cool. I haven't dug in too far with that, but I'm really interested in how this theming itself actually works out. So then we got this, our class we're creating our little hello world. We got our hello world base that we created, which is just a themable mixin, which I think is what lets us use this theme decorator in here. All right, nothing told me that, but hey, I'm just going themable and theme. Makes sense to me. And we're putting our properties in here, and then we got our render in here, which is just fine. And we got the stranger and toggle stranger. Remember that we passed in from the parent widget, which the parent widget essentially is this app TS, that would be the parent, and then this is the a sub widget of the parent widget. So we're passing these properties into there. It's going to have them automatically. That's why I'm able to access them in here. This is like passing properties to a React component. You can use React, so the props for the React component is similar to what's going on here. And then we just have a little render method that's going to do something. It's going to, based on if I click on it or not, it's going to change the classes that are used, and that's why I can do the whole upside down thing like that, right? It's awesome. Yeah, and then I'm just creating my virtual DOM here. And if you notice here, we're actually using the Hyperscript to do this. We're not using JSX or anything in here. So this is, if you write JSX code for React or Maquette, or anything else, the JSX code gets compiled down to something that looks like this, which is just Hyperscript. You tell it, I'm going to create a virtual DOM for a div element, and that I'm going to have these classes on here and these event handlers and so on to do all this really cool stuff. So that's really neat. That lets me do some cool stuff. So okay, so this was kind of cool. Once I've done that though, what else can I do? Can I get a map in here from the JavaScript API? Okay, maybe not. We'll see. See what I can do. So I know that the Dojo build tools by default are going to be using Webpack, right? So, and just by pure experience and hair pulling, I know that getting Webpack to run with the Dojo build tools is the easiest thing. So that's okay. Peloton Wasting over there has a nice little tool for something like that, the Asteroid Loader. All right, so we can look and see how the Asteroid Loader works here. This documentation. I'm not going to bother going over all of it, but you can get a pretty good idea of how that might work. So, in 1 second here, while I try to do something interesting. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to install the Asteroid Loader. So let's see, yarn. Oops. The wrong section. I need to go down here. Yarn add Asteroid Loader. Let yarn do its thing, and while it's doing that, I'm just going to come over here to my widget, and I'm just going to do this directly in the widget itself. Excuse me while I copy paste some code because I don't want to read all this stuff. Okay, so there's my Asteroid Loader in there. Alright, so I'm doing that. And it looks like yarn is trying to fix some stuff. See if it doesn't break my whole install here. Okay, so now I can go ahead and do my Dojo build watch. Let's let that go. So now I'm going to go ahead and tweak some of this stuff in here. I'm going to go ahead and let's see here. So instead of doing this here, let's remove this. Let's remove the on-click stuff too. I'm going to go ahead and just give this an ID. Call it underscore viewDiv, right? So now at this point, I've got nothing on my page. This thing keeps doing an error, but let's see if it'll still do it for me. So I should just have a blank. Okay, so I got my one. Welcome to Dojo 2 testing, but the button's gone because I just got rid of the button property itself, right? So that's cool. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and do this add create map method in here. So let's do a, right under here, let's do private create map. You notice too that Dojo 2 by default is using tabs for everything, no spaces. No one's perfect. And in my on-click, I'll do here, just going to make this interesting. I'm going to go ahead and do the bootstrapping for the Asteroid Loader. So this is how you do the bootstrapping for Asteroid Loader. Check if it's loaded. If it's not, you get a little error. Well, you won't get an error. You'll get an error if something happens with the bootstrapping. But once it's bootstrapped, then I'm going to call my create map method. And I'm going to use the 4.3 version of the JavaScript API. So we'll save that. And then the create map method, I want to do some, bring in a scene view. So Asteroid Loader's got a, where's my grip? There, I'm so lost here. In a second here. Okay, so I just copied this pretty much directly from the documentation for Asteroid Loader. I'm going to get the element ID for the view div. I'm going to go ahead and create my map, just give it streets. Then I'll create a scene view, tell it to use a container for view div. I'm good to go. I haven't played around with this too much. Actually, let me do this. Oh, this is my, sorry, this is my backup plan here. If I create this thing here. So I've got a backup here to append this here onto my note. Can't remember why I did this. appending this node to the parent. This is me being dumb. I'm sorry. I'm just going to go ahead and leave the code as is because I know it was working earlier. So we'll leave it like that. I might be able to do something different to get the container element onto the component itself. Say if I want the whole component to be my map, but I would have to double check that. Again, I'm still playing around with this. It's just all new stuff for me too. So I do need to do this though in my CSS. Where is the main CSS in here? I need to do this. If I did not do this earlier, I had some very weird stuff happening when the map was getting added here. So, okay. Let's refresh this page. Just double checking. Let's see if we have any errors. Of course I have errors. Okay, I figured out what the problem was. There was an update to the Dojo CLI since I started doing it. And this projector that I append no longer returns a promise. This little handle here. So there's no more .then there. That's why that little issue is coming up. So I fixed that. Also fixed some of the CSS I had in here. I forgot to bring in the CSS for my map. Changed some of the brought in the HTML body padding and height stuff and everything. Come with a view div in here. Okay, so we're coming here. Oh, they also changed the name of the CSS for Hello World. It's .m.css. I don't know why .m. I gotta check into that. It's interesting. I'm curious why they did that. But again, I'm diverging a bit more here. All right, so we got an Asteroid Loader. When I click on the button, I'm gonna go ahead and turn it upside down still. However, in my case, I'm gonna get rid of that console there. Check is the Asteroid Loader loaded. If it's not, then I'll bootstrap it. It's just got a little error function here. So if there was an error, if there's no error, then we'll go ahead and create the map. What the map is going to do, it's going to use this asteroidloader.dojo require to load in the JavaScript API bits, and I'll have my map and my scene view, and I'm going to create those and then add them onto the view div, which we got in here, and I'm also making that container in here. So really, I don't need. Oh, I did that. Don't need that. Don't need that. I'm gonna cross this out, and let's cross our fingers. I don't need that either. All right. So okay. So let's create my map, create my scene view, and I should be good to go. All right. Let's come back to our page. Let's go ahead and refresh in there. Actually, the Dojo CLI, when you do the build watch, has a little localhost server. It'll refresh the page for you by default, but I just wanted to do it quicker. So I also had to create a new app to find that the Dojo CLI was updated to what it's called Welcome to WAT now. So if I click on this, you see it going down here, and there we go. We got a nice scene view in here. All right, so zoom in, zoom out, all that cool stuff. And nice little feature too, because we have that still have a little functionality toggle. Oh, click it. Oh, what's that? I'm upside down. Oh my gosh, what's happening? Oh, everything's backwards. That is weird. Yeah, the behavior even is different. Okay, that's cool. That is very. That's odd. All right, let's go back to normal. And there we go again. All right. Okay, that's kind of cool. So again, it wasn't that hard for me to get my map in here. Once I play with it more, get a little bit more serious about toying around with the Dojo CLI and the Dojo 2 apps and the way the widgets and stuff are built, I will go ahead and come back to you guys in a more in-depth analysis and review of integrating the JavaScript API with it. But at this point, I just want to get the scene view in there and do some stuff. I really like the way that they're doing their widgets with Maquette.js and everything. And I think it's interesting that they decided to just go with the raw Hyperscript in here. It's cool, and I like the way that you can do some very nice stuff with Hyperscript. It kind of as you know, I've talked about before, I'm a big fan of Elm. And Elm is sort of the same way. It's not really JSX, but you write your DOM as more of a data structure, and you can kind of think as Hyperscript doing the same thing. So it's also pretty interesting there. Some people may be put off by it, but then people are put off by JSX too, so you can't please everyone. But yeah, I'm really excited for Dojo 2, all the cool stuff coming up. I'm going to be keeping an eye on the wiki and the latest updates come out of it, and I'm really excited about it, and I hope to see a lot more really cool stuff come out of Dojo 2 in the near future. I think it's going to be a great addition to libraries that are out there. All right, thank you.